Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 23? I don't know which way that's going to make more sense, of the 31 Days of Tarot. This is a series that Ethany puts out once a year in January and it is super fun. I am loving this so far. There are some fantastic prompts this time, especially because we are looking at the end of a decade. So today we're going to be talking about my top 5 Oracle decks of 2010 to 2019. Again, thank you, Ethany, for creating these prompts. You did a bang up job this time, and they're always good. That sounded weird. Hopefully you know what I mean. I will link Ethany's video with a list of all of the prompts in the description box and in the card thingies. So check that out if you get some time and you haven't seen it yet. But without further ado, let's dive in. First, I want to talk about an honorable mention because you know I'm going to cheat this. But top 5 Oracle decks, this is, I guess, the 6th. I have to talk about my soul cards because these will always have to have a spot in the top ranking of any kind of Oracle deck thing. I've already talked about these quite a bit in a previous prompt. I believe I mentioned these in my most used decks of all time, or of the last 10 years. Soul cards 1 and 2 in a combined massive deck. I've had this combined deck since I was like 19 or 20 years old. I've had it for a long time. Love it. I used this deck exclusively for past life readings. It was actually only in the past year or so when I started offering past life readings to clients that I have added, so that I use this, but I also use some other things to give the client reading a little more structure. But I really read in a free form way with these and I love them. They really help me tap into my intuition because there is no assigned meanings, no keywords, no titles, no guidebook, just really potent images that let your intuition sort of fly free. And I love that about these. So those are the soul cards. Honorable mention, technically, because I have 5 more to talk about. So the first one I want to talk about, in no particular order, from the past 10 years, and really from the past couple, which is when most of my Oracle decks came into my life, with some exception. The Illuminated Earth Oracle. This is by, why am I suddenly spacing her name? Claire Mack. Oh, I was going to say it and then I doubted myself. Lisa. Anyway, this is a beautiful deck. If you haven't seen this yet, you need to check it out. I've edged mine in blue. These are really, as you would guess, earthy. They are wonderful. This is a balanced Oracle deck. It's incredibly expansive and intuitive. And this was one of the first independent Oracle decks that just knocked my socks off. I remember watching a walkthrough of this deck by Samantha Menzo, and if I can remember, I will link her walkthrough up in the cards. And I think I got like maybe a quarter of the way into her walkthrough and I was literally on my phone going to the independent creators website and ordering this deck because it just blew me away. And Samantha's reactions to these cards was just like all I needed to be like, yes, I need that in my life. So just so you guys know, we all enable each other as well as you guys. You're welcome. Anyway, this is a really, really beautiful one. And if you love working with earthy energies, if you like working with nature energies, you will probably really enjoy this one. It does have kind of a abstract style in some cards, and then it's more clear in other cards, right? But the keywords are fantastic. The cards are really lovely, smooth and matte and sturdy. This is a beautiful deck. So this one has definitely had a big impact on me over the past decade, or at least the last half of the decade. One that I've had a lot longer in my collection that I want to talk about, and probably actually this is one of my oldest Oracle decks. Oh, I just remembered some that I should have included. This is so hard. Quick honorable mention, the Brian Froud decks, the Fairies Oracle and the Heart of Fairy Oracle, I have both in my collection. Those should have totally gotten mentioned because I've had those for a long time, although those are more the decade of 2000 to 2009 than 2010 to 2019, whatever. They're cool and I've had them a long time. But the Tao Oracle by Ma Deva Padma, oh see, I'm saying it right now and I totally second guessed myself when I was talking about the ocean. Welcome to the Babble Zone. This deck, so that I can actually make sense, this deck is by the same artist as the Osho Zen Tarot, which, as some of you know, is my longest owned tarot deck. And I picked this up and it sat on my shelf for a very long time before I started to work with it. And then once I finally got to know this deck, it quickly became a favorite. This was a mass marketed Oracle deck that I believe you can still buy on the mass market. And by mass market, I mean like Amazon. You can buy it from bookstores, that sort of thing. It's readily available. And it's really amazing. This deck is so unique. It's based on the I Ching, so it has 64 cards, each one representing a different hexagram of the I Ching. And yet, you don't need to know anything about the I Ching to work with these cards because there's a wonderful keyword or title of each card. So this one is Grace. And then you have all of these smaller keywords. So adornment, bring out beauty, elegance, the outer as a reflection of the inner, vanity, charisma, self-expression. So you can just go by the artwork and the words on the cards and get some beautiful balanced messages. But if you want to learn about the I Ching, the guidebook goes into the I Ching. It also teaches you how you can work with these cards alongside the I Ching. And I always keep 3 little pennies that I have charged to use with this deck specifically so that I can use the I Ching mechanisms or methods, I guess, with this deck that the guidebook talks about. This is the kind of deck you could work with exclusively, and it would be so rich and would teach you so much because it's based on a unique divination system like the tarot. I Ching is a whole, complete, cohesive divination system, and these cards are based on that. So just like the tarot, you have light, you have shadow, you have positive, you have negative, you have opportunity, and you have difficulty, you have challenge, and so everything is represented in here, and it makes it a very balanced deck to work with. I really, really enjoy it, and it's been a long-time favorite. So this is definitely one that I've worked with a lot and have loved over the past decade, for sure. And I'm pretty sure I've owned it for that whole time, if not a bit longer. Another Oracle deck that I want to talk about that I think had always created a ton of buzz in the divination community is the Oracle of Echoes by Anna Turian. This is a stunning deck and was my first balanced Oracle deck that I really worked with regularly. In fact, I worked with this before, no, I guess not before the Tao Oracle. Now I can't remember. This was much more recent. But I feel like almost like working with one helped me to work with the other. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I'm feeling like I'm remembering. Mind you, my memory is like crummy, so there you go. But what I loved about this is that it had a lot of shadow and it's a wonderful shadow work deck. And I'm not sure if I talked about it in my top 5 shadow work decks video, but it's really, really great. There's cards in here like, I'm gonna think of some really good negative ones. Not negative, but difficult. Loss is in here. Excuse me. Chaos, depression, deceit, and even fear, self-involved. Shadow self is in here as a card. Sorrow, discord is a really potent one. So this is a really, really great foray into more balanced Oracle decks. Anna Turian did an amazing job, and I believe she is working on a Tarot of Echoes right now. So that's very exciting, and I can't wait to see where that journey takes her. Also, can we just talk about this peggybag match? Black puppies, black puppies. I did a good matchup. The other 2 Oracle decks I want to talk about have a lot more to do with my spiritual practice and a lot less to do with divination. The first of these is the Goddess Oracle by Sofia Marashinsky and Hrana Janto. This is a stunning goddess deck. It is my favorite goddess deck, and I really, really enjoy working with this as part of my spiritual practice. These cards are really powerful. They're wonderful for spiritual exploration, for learning about and working with goddess archetypes. Beautiful, love it, and whenever anybody asks about a goddess-based deck, this is the first one that I recommend every single time. I find it to be really, really meaningful and full of depth, and I love the guidebook because it offers like an incantation or like a poem about each goddess, and it also offers a suggested ritual to connect with that goddess or that goddess energy. Love this and highly recommend it if you're looking for a good goddess deck. But this had a real big impact on me over the last decade as well. I don't know how long I've had it, but it's definitely been the one as far as goddess decks go. And then this deck is just in a league of its own and has to be mentioned in the sort of top decks of the last decade, and that is the Weaver's Oracle. I don't even know how to describe this. It's really, really spiritually dense. It's very, very rich. I've edged mine in colors to match these beautiful tapestry on the back. This is a very feminine deck. It features these like sort of wise women, these teachers, it's so hard to describe. It's one of those decks that I think just needs to be experienced. And I find it a very slow deck, by which I mean that when I'm working with this deck, I'll typically pull a card and work with that card for a long time before I move on to a new card. I have sort of given myself a bit of a breather from this deck, but this was an important part of my dark moon practice for a while, and then an important part of my moon time practice for a while. And now I'm working with a couple of other decks, but this will be coming back into rotation. It's a really, really potent one, and the guidebook is something else. It's again, almost hard to describe. Beautiful, the Weaver's Oracle. So I would love to hear what your top Oracle decks of the past decade have been. If you're participating in 31 Days of Tarot, let me know where I can watch your responses. I'm about to cough. Hopefully I can word it off. Let's have a sip. But thank you for hanging out with me while I shared mine. Remember that you can book a reading with me at my website, supportivetarot.com. You can also contact or follow me on, I don't know, you know, the social media stuff, Instagram. I need sleep. I'm on Instagram as @supportivetarot, and please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.